this. The federation through the organizers will make such arrangements. And then don't forget that with the regulation in place now, the federation, if you say that I'm pregnant, but I want to go to the workforce, the federation, like as you believe that she's okay to pay, the federation will not stop her. All right? But I can tell you, most likely, back then, if, if anybody had a know that the female player was pregnant, what they will immediately do is feel this is not safe. If there was no, the test is not from her, whether she'll be able to. The thing is that please, we don't want to get involved. You have to be transparent here. So this is why what has happened is important that yeah, it's still developing, but we're in for interesting days ahead. We'll see how it goes. It will still need some tweaking here and there for it to be sorted out. And yes, thank you very much. But you contact people for like to do with like not just things that you're going to that ask you to speak to the member association because they are the ones who have given that kind of power to, kind of enforce those regulations. So that's basically what I mean. It's about the Nigerian Federation taking those federations and ensuring that clubs here are abiding by those. Same in Uganda, same in UK, same in Ethiopia, Burkina Faso, wherever, you know. So that's basically what I mean. Wonderful. And I like what you pick on says the position in the future in Egypt, it's like uh, we don't have regulation that give the female athletes respect right to protect the rights. And actually, the federation maybe they didn't know about that, and also about the athletes themselves. And they shouldn't know that they can play while they are pregnant, or they can continue playing if they health is good. And also maybe the the clubs also prayed um, from thank you very much. I want to thank that speaks of the element. Well, thank you very much. I want to thank that speaks of the element of educating players on their right, which is recommended. And it's Kenya educating female footballers or athletes. And it's Kenya educating female footballers or athletes around their right and they could benefit from. Um, um, so I think when it comes to education of athletes, especially when you now talk about the human rights with this falls under and the safeguarding issues, I think Africa generally, including Kenya, we still lag behind a lot, still lag behind a lot. So when you talk about it and what Madam Ebi earlier in terms of enforcement, you have policies being done on the international level by Eurocentric rules. But when you look at the localization of these policies and the implementation is where it poses a challenge. Yeah. And that's because we also don't look at the cultural implication of where we are. So in Africa, we're not the same. Okay, maybe Europe, UK, America is more adaptive in terms of accepting these new rules and regulations. But we have to be realistic in the sense that where are women placed in the sports culture? First, of course, they already have the battle of wanting to belong and getting into sport. You have the social cultural dynamics or barriers that are already present in that sense. And then in the case of this, the player that the kind sir here talked about is she chose to fight because of the repercussions that she might have to go through in terms of being eliminated altogether. Because one, sports or football is already deemed not a women's space. You've already fought to get in there. Now you bring in a challenge where now you're pregnant and you have to get some time off to go take care of your family duties. At the same time, the club now has to replace you. Yeah. So And I understand where she might need to hide it, but then I think it's also the culture implication in the clubs that have to accept that women do belong in this space, and there are natural, duties or responsibilities that might come up with that. That we need to find ways of how to adjust to that. So there's issues to do with mental health, hygiene, and even knowledge. Sometimes people have bad cramps and they can't sleep. Some even actually get sick. Some have to be hospitalized and get injections to go through the. Some of them have, young kids they have to take care of. We have situations where female players have to drop off from playing football, one because their responsibilities now become too much. If also they're not being paid enough for them to take care of both their family and football duties, because again they have to work on the side for them to be able to now use that money from the day-to-day 8 to 5 work to play football. But now they have families to take care of. Some of them are single mothers. Yeah, so there's a lot of issues to look into. And because we don't have much time, I don't want to go too much into that depth. But I think when it comes to human rights safeguarding, we're really still at the almost very bottom of it. Yeah.
If we will understand the human rights in the area that you will talk about, if we will hear about it's like Georgie over there. But if one is going to I'll be here, then I'll get to Mr. Oki for another discussion. Then the male participants at clubs with female athletes understand this thing.
Male players compared to like just regular males, that are not in the game. You can see the differences because they understand that they're playing a game. They understand the challenges that come with that. And I guess that's how they can relate to the female players. Whereas I've spoken to like Unions guys and they're like, so you're trying to tell me from the food. I haven't booked me, telling me pregnant. And you're like my best striker. And I'm like, well, these things happen. It's the same thing if you're also having like from a male game and then the best player gets injured. These are the injury and pregnancy is not the same thing, but it's the same absence is you're still not going to be able to use that person, to play the game. So it's just one of those things. I know when you're talking about stigmas, and that's it's a huge thing. I mean, one of the questions I was asked outside is, does it matter whether the person is married or not? And I know, like in the African culture, things that means in the back, we have like a generation now that we're really teaching us, and it's like, back in the day, it's like, you have to be married, and maybe it's only married women, the women have privilege. So then they're asking me, do you have to be married? And I said, well, for me, same sex, which I don't even talk about.
Yeah, and we are going to try and finalize all this right the particular matter. Very nice to know. Hmm, fantastic. Now, tell me, what are these contracts expiry in your times at the NFF, or even still with interaction with clubs, in clubs that have teams, women's team? Do these things come about? Do these kind of disputes come about? And how do you deal with them as the football association?
Thank you. To be honest, we have never had any case where a player contract is terminated because he's pregnant. That is just the truth. But like I said, the good thing is that the framework is in place. So if any club in Nigeria decides to terminate the contract of a player because she's pregnant, that way, I think the room. We are going to throw the book at them. There's no compromise. That is the position of the present day Nigerian Football Federation when it comes to contractual stability.
Wonderful. No compromise in that regard, but I wonder if you have a compromise on the recommendation that is proposed here. Minimum post-birth leave could be increased to 12 weeks. What do you think?
First, I want to add something about the uh, regarding the making like awareness for so like FIFA made a lot of awareness, but it's for African players it's difficult to know this because sometimes the clubs they didn't give workshops. Actually, it's our role as a lawyers to offer workshops for federations, national federations, and after that um, we uh, we make like conference like this and on social media that topic will be known before female. Actually, the players didn't. The player don't read a lot. Maybe they like videos, reels, short reels. So that's why I made like initiative for female players to understand the basic legal rights. Actually, most of them they didn't know that the club can reduce their salaries without legal basis. Yeah. So so that this is the minimum of knowledge they don't have. So now it's something new that the female um, understand something that like that, and also FIFA protect the adoptive mother. So they have a child. It's right to have kids. So, um, so the awareness very important. Yes.
Absolutely, and without doubt, getting awareness around this is very, very critical. Now, if minimum post-birth leave should be increased to 12 weeks,
Under experiment. Yeah, maybe it's for me. I think it's 1 year. It's to start uh, and for countries, employment contracts, the norm employment contracts. I see some countries they give 1 year as paid, and the other 2 years you can take it, but not paid, or the grandma to protect their their child. So, but for now, it's good because the sports when you have a contract for 2 seasons, so the 1 season. So if she got it's difficult to give her 1 year or something like that. It's a full contract. Yeah. So that's
it's something not taken.
yes. Yeah, we can see maybe it's good because people always change their regulations and make dates. So it's a that's the situation now, and maybe in the future change.
Nicholas, what are your thoughts around that? The minimum post-birth leave should be increased to 12 weeks.
Um, as the regulations say, I think it should be considerate to the local laws as well. But again, not every country has the same maternity leave. You have some give 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, even paid. But I think it also should be case by case basis because everyone has their own complications post birth. Some have natural birth where they heal faster. Some have complications whether they've gone through C-section. And I don't have a personal experience with that, but I can relate because I've seen, people close to me who've gone through different, postpartum experiences and also depends on the support system you have. I mean, but I think it should be cases maybe to now be fluid because again, you also have to look at the realistic ways of how, again, contractual stability and whether the club is able to manage without a few players losing out because like, I can have a child this year, the other one like this. So I think it's something that sort of, there's a lot of research and a lot of work that needs to be done to look into this issue. Yeah.
That's nice.
Rewind this.
I think what I was just going to do, we totally agree with the case by case. I think it's good if there's a minimum, at least, there's a minimum, and then he's just, I was thinking before you speak about thinking exactly the same thing, people feel differently. Um, and you also made another good point about being realistic about like the financial strength of clubs, because they could actually get to a point where they start to discriminate against like young Latino players. They might be saying, we're only going to take players who are like maybe like 30 football because they maybe assume at that point that, they've already had their kids at home. They won't take care of them. So it's it's an interesting space, and it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next say 10 years in that space.
Yeah, for me, the point to me is that there's need for us to try. And take an example in Nigeria, national law, if you're in paid employment, I think you're entitled to 4 months paid maternal leave, either 4 or 3 months paid maternal leave. All right. Now, um, if you just suppose that with what the framework talks about, 8 weeks, which is like 2 months. Okay. So you can see that 14, sorry, 14 weeks. 14 weeks. So the thing is, if we're looking at increasing the duration of the maternal leave, we should also put into consideration the clubs. These club owners that put down their money. I mean, you could have over the season prepared your team and raised a fantastic team, and in 3 or 4 months, 5 or 6 of those your team first team players are expected. You understand? And I like the point she made about you know handling it on case by case appearance. Let us, for now, look at it for the 14 weeks and leave it to the player to decide, yeah, I've healed, like you said, I've healed quickly, I've healed enough, I can go back into active football. Or, you know, let there be that room to come in before 14 weeks or after 14 weeks in the event that we have some situations that get out of hand. So that's the thing.
Yeah. Just a very quick point, and this is I think people I said it earlier, but they have a lot of work to do in Africa. I think the people clearinghouse, obviously, it's a lot of the clearinghouse, but those who know the people clearinghouse will understand what I'm talking about. People seem to make out regulations without thinking about how things are going to work in Africa.
One size fits all.
One size fits all, what you've done, and this again is, obviously, I'm definitely in support and positive players in a different position where them positive players in a different position where they end up having to kind of find life outside of Nigeria, outside of people, outside of football, outside of Africa, because they're not getting these protections. So I think people, I don't know what that does, but you'd think that PAF would be there to say, no, this is not going to work here. This is not going to work for the people. We need to find something that will work. Exactly. But again, like I said, that's the conversation for another day.
I want us to debate on this specifically talk about Africa. And each of you give me a text within about 10 seconds. They're in. What should Africa do to make this speak?
Actually, Africa, I think that ha- has a big role in this matter because maybe because there are no cases related to pregnancy until now in Africa, so they didn't feel the position. So I think when first when we have like knowledge and awareness regarding the rights, after that the problems will come and we can work with the lawyers to deal with this situation. After that, maybe it's not realistic the regulations right now. Maybe they can increase the time for maternity leave maybe they can add some. There was a question about pre-testing. What is it? Yes, yes, that's it. Actually, it's not a valid reason to terminate the contract if the club didn't. Yes, but it's still a violation. It's still a violation if she had a baby and she wants to yeah. I have a picture here for a room on one club. They made this picture. Like you can see, this is for females players to breastfeed. This is simple, very simple. Yeah, very simple. A chair and the something for yeah, yes. Private club. It's easy to make it in any room in the club. So I think when it happens, it could be improved directly.
When it happens, it will be improved.
Yes, yeah.
What should Africa do?
I think as I mentioned,
If you could
I think the member association, like the NFF, they need to what's the current maternity private or the national level, and just trying to understand the market itself, how it's together. And then, maybe go about the feedback. I don't know whether tap has a top, because they may get top clubs as well. Like, look, when you're putting into a picture, so something like that, maybe let's put it like after, rate the same, some of these things, because then that will help support as well. What things or not. So it's not completely put together. That's that.
But recently, you are with the NSF, and I know you interact with staff. The recommendations are here. Should we give you the insight that to submit those? What should Africa do?
I think all of
Let's do the
Okay, I am speaking from my own perspective. I don't staff, but just say that I think that the need and hope Africa can do is Africa that is football and because uh, traditionally, culturally, Africa, we are family oriented. All right. So yeah, what, uh, what the maternal health framework does is encourage that make, basically make football more welcoming for every young girl. Because I'm sure that prior to now, some of them will be worried. So, I think I I am pregnant, responsible for like 7 months, 6 months, or 5 months, and then I'll be able to young stuff. But now, the average female player knows that if in the course of being I get married or I'm having to say that my work is there, my salary is from young stuff, I have all kinds of support. I made the point that the first time I stumbled on this my personal health thing was when the colleague of mine from a different federation, they had a CBA for their nationalities. And the guy was what he saw that their nationalities he had presented that they wanted was think the brother he had been take no this and I think set me thinking, that or that this is what we need to do. That. And subsequently, our own national teams they have also come up with that which project if I will make sure that the national team they are that agreement with them is signed once and once. So what is great then we can point it out to them.
I just want to add that most of your players, after the deadline, they quit working because they didn't know what I would do like that. So that's yeah, yes. We can see about computers looking for maybe funny information. Well, because it's even
Absolutely. Let's listen to Ms. Noor. Then we'll pick, I think, Mr. Praja and two comments, and we'll call it a day. Okay? Fantastic.
Yeah, I think for me it's just to crystallize what everyone has said, but also it should be a collective responsibility. Everyone should be involved in this because again, we have to fight for on continent, we have to fight for on players. But then again, also have to realize that we've seen so many athletes who post motherhood who've been able to still shine and compete and win medals or even win maybe play in World Cup or international competitions and actually do well. But I think also we need to give them the resources and the support that they need so that they can be able to do that. So I think it's all of us who have to stand up. But then as again, other than just compliance, we also have to realize, as we all said, it has to be according to our cultures. It has to apply. It has to make sense. So yes, let's adopt the international standards that are there, but we also have to customize them to fit our standards. And what can work in Nigeria cannot also necessarily work in Kenya. We're also very diverse in Africa, so we also have to do that. I mean, further customization to what we customize for Africa, but then also to work with the different regions. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's to fit. Mr. Timothy Praja, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. But this Mr. Timothy Praja.
Yes, thank you for having this. I just have not a question, but really a comment. And just to disagree with Mr. Leo, on one question on what should Africa do? I think that is a mistake that FIFA made when they come out with those regulations and the NOSTP. We went and just referred to what they referred to, what is called the maternity protection provision of 2000, picked 14 words, replaced them. So they went solo, yet they had the IOC with them. What we think is that maternity protection is something that should be addressed generally as a sport, as the sort of sport. Because when you look at tennis, they'll give them a year. When you look at rugby, which is physical, and football, they give them 12 weeks. So that language is not applicable in parents. It's only because you've given them unsuitable recommendations. That's affected mothers, but even the hard stadium. The top of the hard stadium, what is going to affected mothers? What should be done, mind you, is that pilots, the International Organization, and UN Women, work and renegotiate that maternity protection provision in light of sports women. Because by the time they negotiate the economy first, only the corporate employees were tied along with him and not the sport. Then, so I think that they should renegotiate it as pilots and UN Women and find minimum suitable standards that then the country should enforce their national municipal laws. That is how generally women in the workplace have been empowered and protected in the general workspace. Unfortunately, that workspace left out sports women because the people who never had that never had that perspective. So that yeah.
I mean, I just wanted to initially I wanted to make the point, but men and women are workers. And because if you look at the human rights policies that are there, including FIFA and IOC, they do make reference to the ILO standards. So the same way you have minimum wage, you have, right to work in a fair and safe environment, etc. But then also I think we need to have trade unions for players. The same way we have FIFA on the global level, we should have national level because I think also Africa, there's some countries that don't have player welfare bodies. So Kenya has KEFWA. I don't know. Yes, maybe few other countries, but it's not the same because again, they can also work as a body to advocate and push for these rights. Thank you.
Right. Good evening, everyone. People wouldn't my name. I think that I've spent some time to talk about talking directly to Aisha, will be you came your points earlier, and you talked about balancing the accessibility of maternity rights and then making all laws. For instance, in Nigeria, I'm very much aware that we're not giving consent to same-sex marriage, right? Like, sponsoring the law, consenting to same-sex marriage. Really stand. We have a kid here, the player of Rangers International Football Club, who went to, and then is married to a female. We believe handle this in Nigeria. I mean, balancing the possibility of maternity rights in football and then national laws as well with respect to same-sex marriage. What's your view on that?
Um,
You know that there's a law in Nigeria in place. There's this subsisting law that outlaws same-sex marriage. So, as it is, the marriage is illegal. As a matter of fact, according to that law, yes, your player and whoever they are married is in prison. So uh, that's the law. That's the law as it is today. You understand? So no, no. Yeah. Yeah. The fact that is the issue. No, for him, for the talking about it. Aha. It becomes we are talking about a player, a female player, married to a female player, and a female player gets pregnant. Yes, pregnant. Even if it's a biological place again. So, I want listening to the discussion with her comment and then we'll move on.
I think this subject is generally a controversial issue, and not just in Africa, but in Europe. I think the bottom line could be whether she's pregnant or she's becoming a mother. If you're not pregnant, she got pregnant, or who she got pregnant with, or who. That's a personal phenomenon where you're going into the spectrum of people and trying to question how they want to, it shouldn't be, yeah. I mean, is she pregnant? Yes. Is she becoming a mother soon? Yes. That should be the bottom line. Yeah. Whether they even got married in South Africa, so again, if it's illegal in Nigeria, they possibly didn't get married here. So if they got married elsewhere, it's legal that they recognize themselves as a union. So that should be their own problem. But the question here we're trying to discuss where for the female when you're in a same-sex relationship and the must be defined, then you know we have to between exactly. So that's why you have to like response today. Earlier, the people Minnesota, we had the mediation session. We had meetings taking place with both meetings to have I didn't know that I was assigned this uh, assignment one. What will I, someone has to do this job.
And as we told you, uh, we did a very, very nice job with this. Being here is a very, very big achievement. And the teaching was very tough, very difficult. And we are having needed because we had to kind of get to the plan. So what the two teams are one of the two teams are doing to the final for the titles. And in case they want to go for the congratulations. The first finalist is University of Lagos. And the second finalist is Republic National University. Congratulations and thank you to Governance University for speaking in a very good. And see if the finance get the study around tomorrow because it will be. Okay, thank you. Once to the finals, not only to the once to this, the final will be done. Benefits for the plan. She jumped into because those are the guys in the game, which is remember. By the fourth last time they this is how we will continue. Is also able to it's also able very few also really most students knows very glad that students is offered said is offered in terms of so I say doing in and every time you can attend these notes for people then I went to was and the thing that's ranking is full simply that is getting from about and I'm talking to you about this one there is a get that in far and back what on sometimes it's just 1 year, 2 years, last time was class. Actually, what's going on? So, most students was enough. Thank you for the get the was communication was sports Thank you very much, Mr. Okay, the lines are much fun. And the fourth thing kindly, this product change. And then service. When I
100%. I am going to the moment this time. There's something that's what we about to watch. And finally, let's go to spectator. You can see engineering is a perfect which is beautiful. It's now that you're going to the next day and looking to see all of the good, bright and shiny and lovely and excited about final day of this year's program. And absolutely, right now, this is things. It's so mine. Thanks much. Nancy and I love you, Susan. Lovely evening. Good evening tomorrow.